This is safety, security, and the people's rights on this dial, Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Everyone, welcome on board. We've got a lot to discuss this afternoon. Of course, yes. I've got a couple of persons in the studio, two amiable personalities in the studio. First, I want to let you know that I have in the studio Susan Babatunde Yama. Am I right with that name?
Yes.
Thank you. She is the CEO Blooming Greens School. Blooming Green Schools is in Yaba in Lagos State. Good to have you join us in the studio.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, listeners.
Good afternoon. Michael Tobechuku Nwokike is a house master and sports committee member, Blooming Schools or Blooming Green Schools, still in Yaba, Lagos. Good to have you join us.
Thank you so much.
No, I didn't hear that. Say that again.
So thank you so much for having me.
All
It's
right.
good to be here.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Good to have you. Now, today we're just going to be looking at, something very, very serious, something really, really important because it helps or affects the lives of our children, both in school and, of course, at home. We're looking at creating safety and security consciousness in children learning environment. Now, the key words for me is safety and, of course, consciousness. All right. Recently, we've had several issues, accidents in school, where we hear a child drowning a pool somewhere. We had several other issues here and there. And so we needed to talk about these issues. So as a parent, if you are listening, please get very close to your radio. And of course, maybe you can bring your words, very close to the radio set too, so they can hear us. Now, let's talk about the importance. Let me start with you. The importance of safety in our schools, in the lives of our children. Let's talk about safety first.
All right, as we strive to provide our children with a nurturing and supportive learning environment, it's important to see that safety is paramount in what we do. We have to provide that very safe environment for children to then learn, for us to nurture the children. So it's very key that a learning environment is safe. Once they come into school, they know that they can thrive without worrying, without that consciousness that harm could come their way. So it's very key that a learning environment must make provision such that the environment is safe in all ramification. That is what safety is for a learning environment. It's very key for every child and everyone to come to that learning environment and they can throw their guards down knowing that it's safe. To be in the classroom is safe. To be in the playground is safe. To be in every arm of the school and be able to learn without having to worry that they could fall, they could come to harm's way. Yes.
I want you to, I would love to break this. I want us to break down whatever we're saying here so people can understand. I want you to, let's break it down really. Let's have a classroom kind of discussion.
Yes.
All right? Yeah. And I want it all encompassing. Now, I understand that in some of our schools, people or owners of schools don't, have these safety measures enough to guard the children. I understand that sometimes all parents, or some of the schools I've visited, you might be surprised to hear me say I work with schools in Lagos State and outside Lagos State. I report activities as regards schools. I run a whole lot for schools. Now, I've seen several schools where people pay less attention to security, less attention to safety in the school. And it begs the question, what are we doing? Is it the fault of the parents? Is it the fault of the teachers? Is it the fault of the owners of the school? Is it the fault of government? Whose fault is it to bring about safety, guiding the children in school?
So like you said, let's break it down.
Okay.
We'll start with the school. People have sent their children to school to learn. What are the measures to ensure that there's safety in that environment? So first of all, we establish clear policies and procedures to guard that. How do you do that? There must be a policy that shows everyone clearly, adults in the environment, that in this environment, we have these procedures for everyone to follow to protect children in the environment. How do I mean? These policies guide around safety and security. All stakeholders must be involved in knowing what it is. So there are laid down rules. That's what the policy is about. Then we must also foster a culture of openness and trust in your environment. Safety and security, they work hand in hand. Encourage children to express their concerns, fears, and feelings, creating a safe and non-judgmental space for them to share their thoughts and emotions. And in creating these policies, we must also endeavor to have areas where, in case of emergency, this is also touching on security, muster points, marshals in the school setting, teachers who are in charge of this. In case there's fire, who does what? Who takes a child to where? You know, everybody must know that. That is in the safety policies that the school must have. And everyone must have, the stakeholders, the teachers, the members of staff in the school environment must all be trained to understand how it applies. We will also train the children. The children should also know things around that. For instance, let's say fire outbreak. As you groom the teachers, the children get into being groomed by the school having drills to show, if there's fire, this is what you do. This is the exit point. This is where you take to go to safety, to go to the muster point.
All right.
These are the things that must be in place. Now, when we talk about safety, it's not just the physical. There's also emotional part of safety. A child should come into a school environment feeling safe, knowing that I could express myself and everyone will be at my beck and call to support me, to ensure that I am safe. How do I mean? Maybe a child has encountered something, maybe bullying, maybe some prep kind of things that look like...
You mentioned bullying. We'll get there.
Yes, like something that shows like someone is preparing a child for, let me put it this way, pedophile, for instance, and the child runs to an adult. The child should be safe enough to feel free to meet the adult to say, I don't like the way this person talks to me. And that adult should also be reactive, be able to then take it up and find out what happens. So if you have policies around all of this, the physical one, accidents, where not to take, if there's fire, how to use the swimming pool, who is there at what time, all those things can be mitigated. So these are the steps. The first step is to have a laid down policy. All the stakeholders are aware, they're involved, and then training happens. For instance, in Blooming Green School, we have about 3 floors on each building, and we have staff that have been trained to be the drill marshals, the safety marshals. So they know what to do at a given time. We also have drills around attack. For instance, let's just assume there's a sporadic shooting somewhere. Everyone in that environment, as I speak to you, know what to do, how to lie down, where to crawl to, movements, who makes the movement, who takes them where. So also for the fire drill. Breaking these things down, this is some of the things that you can get in a school that's intentional, that knows what to do with the safety of the children. When we talk about emotional safety as well, you, as the leader, who is also fostering that environment where everyone can feel comfortable, where everyone can feel safe. There are things that cannot be said. There are things, issues. These are all put in the policy so everyone understands that in this environment, This is how we speak. This is how we work. This is what we do. This person is in charge of this. This person is in charge of this. Even in discipline, all of those things are captured in the policy that a school must have at any given time in every aspect of safety and security. And when I also link it to security, every school environment should have security men, who guard the place. They should also be trained to know what to do at any given time. They know their boundaries. They know that, okay, as a security man, I'm not supposed to get to this point. And the members of staff were supposed to take it up from this part to this part. And we're meant to work with the children, direct the children. That also affects even the adults. They're also protected. In an environment where people, let's talk about emotional, when teachers or adults are talked down for every little thing that happens, you also kill their self-esteem. They're not able to function effectively. But there are languages that are meant to be used in a learning environment. Children, what they do is copy and paste. 80% what you say and do, 20%, 80% of what you do, 20% of what you say. So if you are saying a different thing and acting a different thing, it will not work. So everyone is involved. Is how you treat the adults in the environment, members of staff, that also translates to what the children get. So these are some of the things that are put in place to guide and guard an environment that is safe and secure.
You mentioned the emotional security. Now, I want to take you up on that. I understand staff to child relationship.
Yes.
Okay. And aside that, I also want to mention, maybe this might not be for you. This might be for, this man here, the house master. During sports, we see children getting injured because everyone is just, just mind your business. You just go in your way. You leave the children to play. Like I told you, I've been working with schools. I'm still doing that. They're left alone because they feel it's their time. Don't disturb them. Don't trouble them. Don't, let them play and all of that. And then you leave them to do whatever they want to do. At the time, you notice that is the point where they get to learn some of these nonsense that you see with them. All right. So how do you work? How do you, mitigate against all of these things at that point in time?
All right. Thank you so much. And there's a key word you used earlier, and that's intentionality. And that's one thing we do from start to finish. So even during playtime, every child is manned. Let me give you a very typical example. Now, so when the children go out to the field to play football, the courtyard, they never play without an adult keeping eye on them. So whether it's the football pitch, whether it's the swing, whether it's the trampoline, there's always an adult keeping an eye on them, right? So to ensure they don't go extreme, because by the time they get excited, anything can happen. So that's why we ensure that there's always an adult manning them to ensure that they play within the confines of safety. So that's one way we ensure that the children stay safe. Yes, it's always an adult manning them to ensure they don't go extreme.
You want to add? You want to add to that?
Yes, I want to add to that. So I said earlier that there's policy. In Blooming Green School, what Michael just told you is part of the policy to be for every group of children that are playing or doing one activity or the other, there must be an adult, a teacher that's assigned to man them. It's there in the policy.
Assigned to man them?
Yes, at any given time, because children will always be children. You expect them to do something and they're doing that thing and some more things that can bring harm. So at any given time, there must be an adult that would work with the children, direct them, and then, of course, still allow them to achieve what they're there to do, whether it's playtime, sports time, or club time. Before the earlier time when you started asking the question, you said something about, people go for swimming and there's an issue. In Blooming Green School, these things are structured. We have teachers assigned to different clubs. They give reports on how the clubs went. how successful or some of the hitches they experience. So when the instructors for swimming come around, there's a teacher or two teachers or more assigned to see that they're just swimming and they're doing what they're meant to do at that time, and that the instructors are also doing their bit to ensure that these children get value in that regard. So also other parts of sports, that they do in school, or even playtime. There's no time in Blooming Green School when children are gathered, because we know they are children. We have to direct them. We have to foster that safety mindset by also supporting them, that you won't find a teacher or an adult with them that can do, some supervision to ensure that they're safe in what they're doing. I also talked about the emotional part. You have to run an environment that allows openness for children to express themselves without the adult, the teachers, the members of staff being judgmental. Oh, why are you here? Are you here to complain again? Those kind of things can send wrong signals to a child, and the child shuts down and is not able to express themselves. So what happens at Blooming Green School is every single information, every single concern or complaints from a child is given attention. At that spot, the child says, oh, I can't find my water bottle. Oh, my friend said I should go and sit down. Something as little as go and sit down. If you're very busy, you can tell the child, just hold on a second. I'm talking to an adult here. I'll come back to you. And you must get back to that child. Because what it does is encourages the child to express themselves, trust you. The child will be able to trust you that Mrs. So and so, Mr. So and so would listen to me. I can air my view and I'm safe to come back to them for as many times as I can. I'm not also saying taking away the discipline part that, a child can't just be running back and forth to you. But if you give that child an iota of doubt that there's no need going there, they won't listen and they won't do anything. Even if they listen, they won't do anything. That child will shut down.
You mentioned you mentioned something that has to do with he started it and you corroborated that. He said you man positions at every given time, to put an eye on the kids, right? But how come we hear this issue of bullying if you do that? Because sometimes it's when they go out to do these sports normal sports, that's where you see bullying and all sorts of. How do we find out that children are bullying themselves and all of that?
Okay, let me explain to you.
I'll get to you because it's your own thing. Yeah.
Okay, so
good.
Yes, you can see I'm
it's your
very
area.
excited to answer that because what you do encourages you to want to jump into questions that are even meant for other people. That's why I'm jumping into it, even though you wanted to ask.
No, you first. He will answer too.
Right. Fine. Okay, so we are talking about bullying. I can give you an instance of what can generate bullying. An environment that is hostile. Children learn from what they see. It's true you teach them, but your behavior, your body language, they pick it. It's like copy and paste. I said something. It's 80% what you do and 20% what you say. If the environment is hostile, and let me tell you, as the CEO of the school, it starts from my desk. If there's hostility radiating from my desk to those who deliver, the teachers, members of staff, and it's hostile, you talk down on people, you're not able to respect. In Blooming Green School, there's respect for one another, everyone. When you give this warmth, there's official language if someone steps out of the line, not those things that will make you call people names, that brings self-esteem down. The environment is warm. So those who receive it, pass it on. It's only natural. You can't give what you don't have. The Blooming Greens environment is warm, starting from my desk and the leadership, every one of us, you give that warmth, they pass it on. So there's a lot of warmth in Blooming Green School. Bullying, because a child that's given a lot of warmth and love, they find it hard to be aggressive and hostile. So bullying, really, It can come from the family background. It can
Exactly,
come,
beautiful. I
yes,
was about going there. Do you
yes,
think it started
it
from
can-
home or in school?
It depends. I keep telling you, it depends on what a child sees. If a child comes from a home that is very hostile, you will work real hard to get the child out of it, because what the child sees is hostility. Someone is hitting someone. A house help is, all the languages. People are shouting and all. The child will definitely carry that to any school. It's now for the school to be that intentional to begin to groom the child and say, it's not always like that. You can't do it like that. It's okay to have some issues with your friends, but you can escalate it. Take it to your teacher. Tell the next adult. We always encourage them. If you see something, say something.
Oh, he's in your school
Yes,
too.
see
He's
it,
here.
say-
He started here
Okay,
actually.
so as
in
is-
this studio.
As is, see it, say it, and it's sorted. You can see he corroborated. That's what happens. If you say it, if you're not happy with what's going on with you and your classmates, escalate it to your teacher. And if you're not happy, anyone, and of course your CEO, if you see me on the walkway, you want to have audience with me. So it's that kind of environment. It's an open door policy that we run at Blooming Green School. So children, feel free to bring these things. In Blooming Green School, let me give you this instance. We've had an instance of having an exceptional learner who came from another school, who had grown, I don't know what it was over there, and the child couldn't take turns, couldn't do things. There was a bit of bullying traits in the child. So when the child joined us, he wouldn't take turns. He wanted to have his way, as would be with children, and of course, an exceptional learner for that matter. Just grooming the child and his friends, the children, working with him. 2 weeks. In fact, the specialist school where the child was attending, they wrote us to say it's the first time in the history of their existence that a child who had this need moved from this stage, 360 degrees turnaround, to normal calmness that would suit, of course, a child of that age. So it's environment that can, encourage this sort of behavior, which is bullying.
And more of psychology too.
Yes, what they see. Children work with what they see more. What they see, what they hear adults do. Children come into this world the way they are. It's what we put in that they take. So it's important that educators, schools, begin to look at things intentionally. What do we want to achieve? What kind of children do we want to groom? That way, you're able to bring them to work together. I can tell you that in Blooming Green School, our children work together. We don't record that bullying, but children will always be children. So it's our duty to be intentional and groom them the way we want them to.
Michael, let me come to you, because I told you it's your area, a special area. You're the chairman of that area. Now, as a sports master, how do you mitigate against these things when you see children go to play and then you pushed me, you didn't push me, I push you too, and all of that? What happens?
So the key word here is culture. Now, if you have a culture of respect, a culture of warmth, a culture of love, those things are minimal. That doesn't mean it will not happen at all, but it's minimal. Now, I said earlier that everywhere where we have a group of children, they are manned. So, say for example, I'm the one on duty, and I see that there are tendencies for that to develop. I step in as the adult to ensure that everything is well sorted. So, for example, let's say we have a group of 8 children who want to play football, and friends always want to pick, oh, he's my friend. And if we allow them do that, they can have a situation where a team has 6 players and the other team has 2. So as the adult, if you don't know, you are in this team, you are in that team, to ensure there's balance and no team has too much of an advantage over the other, and to mitigate against the exact scenario you just painted. So it goes back to what she talked about, the policy and the culture of the school, because we have a culture of respect, a culture of warmth, and a culture of love. So the tendencies for that to happen is really minimal, and in the cases where it might spring up, the adult steps in and ensures that everything is well sorted.
I want to ask you a question. I want to go off a little bit off what we're talking, what we're discussing. It's for our listeners, all right, to get to understand more of these things. At what point do you expel a student,
Um,
or do you do that at all in your
Sincerely
school?
speaking, we haven't had any reason whatsoever to do that at
Are you
Bloomington
sure?
School. No, because we have that culture. At the time that we're enrolling a child, we have our documents that we give to the parents, and then we ask a lot of questions, and we also require a lot of documentation. For instance, the child is coming from another school. We'll try to know why is the child leaving, all that. We get the details so we know what we're up against. And then, of course, we do the normal cognitive part of it, which is the assessment, on the subjects and all. So that takes care of, okay, so somehow we know the child that's coming to us. And, of course, with the culture that we have, the policies that we have, we begin to work with the children. I can tell you something. Children, it's easy to groom children because they're young. Their minds are still open to receive things. They're not totally formed. So when they join the school, our culture comes to play. The respect that we have. There are programs that we run where some of these policies are brought to bear. The magic words to use. We teach them how to be polite. It's a polite, respectful environment. So we teach them how to relate to others, how to talk to people, even telephone manners, because every aspect of the school has telephone, intercom.
Okay.
So they learn to respond on the phone. There are days that a call will just come through deliberately, intentionally. Then a child picks, and then the child identifies. This is year one, say Sapphire. How may I help you? It's to teach them those polite behaviors, culture, and all. So we haven't had any reason to expel any child. And I think that if a school is intentional, I don't think there'll be a need to do that, because once they come into your environment and you begin to groom them, you apply all those things that make you a school with excellence. The children will just fall in line. And then, of course, there's collaboration with parents. There's a synergy between home and school. Once we identify, oh, this child is new in our environment, we notice this, we communicate with the parents and we say, this is what we want you to do at home. Engage the child in this manner. Ensure that people who talk this way, he's not exposed to those people. We work with home. And then in no time, the child just conforms. And the child is even happier than the child came. And the parents, and of course, ourselves. So we haven't had a need. And I think there shouldn't be any need to expel a child in a school if the school is intentional and the parents and the school are working together.
How much do you employ a rod in your school? It's one big thing in our schools now. Don't beat him. Oh, he doesn't like it. At home, we don't beat them.
Right. So
You
I don't think the rod should be applicable in this 21st century learning time. And I can explain.
Okay.
There are better.
You're going a different route right now.
Yes,
Okay,
because you took me that route.
Of
So I'm
course,
going
of
to go
course.
all the way. So there's no need for the rod. There are better methodologies that you can apply. I can tell you that a child that comes into our environment, like I told you, we have our policies, don't hit. Okay, so on a lighter note, what if the person that wants to hit has a natural iron in the hand that you can't see? You hit and the child dies. That's on the side. I said on a lighter note, but that's deep. But then importantly, children can be groomed, disciplined without the rod. When you say rod, it's the cane, isn't it? Without
I'm using the Bible term, sorry.
Yes, I know. And I agree. I flow with you.
Beautiful.
So what I mean is, a child that requires some measure of discipline, when they join the school, they join to make the rule with the teachers. Class rule is pasted on the wall. If you do this, this is what we will do. If you do it, they all make the rules. And they know that if they step out of the line, that applies. Save the road. It could be community service. It could be, stopping them from playing. Every child loves to play. If you take it away from them, it's as if they'd rather play than eat, if you know what I mean. Do you understand? So we have different methodologies. In Blooming Green School, we also have correction corner. Correction corner, especially for the younger children. Correction corner instead of naughty corner. Because the intention is to produce positive result. Why use negative words? So a child that goes to naughty corner every now and again, sooner than later, will develop a thick skin. They will send me to naughty corner. I'm naughty anyway. But if it's correction corner, there's a signal to the mind. I'm going to be corrected. The child goes there. And there's a policy that guards even that place. That policy gives you few minutes or seconds to relieve the child from there. And then discuss. Do you know why you went to the correction corner? These are the things you did. Are you going to do them again? The child is happy to not do it again. There's playtime. They love to play. It's in the. I keep telling you about policies. These are laid down rules. Everyone that comes to work in Blooming Green School, we'll be handed those things over to. So you're ready. It's not like I didn't know. I'm not aware. No, nothing is left to chance in Blooming Green School. We just know that this is what would happen. So if it happens, these are the things. So there's no need. Children can do community service age appropriately. A young child, maybe 5 years old, can be the one to share pencil for just whatever disruptive nature the child had exhibited, at that given time. You share the pencil. That's also developing the child for leadership.
Okay.
So like I said, age appropriately. It could be to, do some chores, maybe in the dining area for your friends because you're done, or take your playtime. I tell you, or just a matter of fact, look into the eyes of the child, stooping to their height level and looking at them. They know. There was a day I was working along the corridor. A parent was with me. I saw some children. It wasn't playtime, but school was over. And once school is over, you should go home unless you're on after school. I was passing by the corridor and I saw some children playing football. All I did was say, "What are you doing?" They all disappeared. You see, I didn't have to shout. I didn't also have to apply any other thing. I just said, the parent asked me that, "Mrs. Yama, I just heard your voice. It wasn't loud. How did they all go?" They know play face, and they know smiley face, and they know stern face. It's business. Serious business with them at that point.
The way you were talking.
Yes, please.
School this sweets me. It depends on the kind of schools we attended.
Yeah.
What are you doing there? All of you, come here. Come and kneel down. It's my kind of school.
I know.
You said intercom. The school where me go. No, leave that one. Leave that. That was why I said rod. They use the rod on us. Now, let's flip through this page. All right, quickly because of our time. I want to ask you the challenges. All right, of creating a safe learning environment for children. What are the challenges, so far that you would want to list?
I would say that it would be to have everyone on the same page at the same time.
How do you mean?
For instance, let's say in the school, the policies are there. Is everyone following it to the letter? Do you have to train, retrain, and keep at it? It's a challenge because it will cost you time, energy, and resources to keep up at that, because we're all human beings. But consistency, constant training, that is also surpassed. Also working, it takes also a while to get the other part of the school. Some parents to also see that this is what applies for us to do this. It just says something about, oh, don't touch, don't. Yes, we won't touch, but you also need to work with them, So sometimes you have to go through that over and over again to also get them into buying into some of the things that are laid down to capture that safety. Sometimes too, you want to extend that safety to community.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you
Okay.
want to also involve the community so they understand that this applies. That also takes a lot to get people into, getting involved. Especially, okay, so this is Blooming Green School, and you're coming to a community and you're saying this is what applies, this is what we should do, and they probably don't even have their children with you. So you know what I mean. Those can be, this is narrowing it down. But then, I think for government, they also have a lot to do in public schools just to get them to also be intentional by supporting them, creating that conducive environment. For instance, in Blooming Green School, we look at, is there a stump of wood? Is there something that can make anyone fall? Are there people that should do some tests, amongst those who will work with the children? Do we need to run some kind of test to ensure that it's safe to work with them? Is everyone's mental health okay? Those things psychologically, emotionally, and all that. So those are some of the little. But in our environment, we have wonderful parents who
Okay.
really work with us. They believe in the communication channel that we have given them, and it's working between home and school.
How would you judge the education system, the Nigerian system of education? This 6-3-3-4, what do they call it? System of education, and all of these archaic. I'll call it archaic because some of these things we really don't need it. But let me leave it to you. How would you judge this thing? I mean,
Oh, okay.
our education
I
system.
would say that things are getting better.
Better.
They're getting better. We may not be where we're meant to be, but we're not stagnant. And the reason I'm saying this is we've had to work with the Ministry of Education Quality Assurance Department. They were in an environment for about 2 weeks at the time they came to just check, in the system, be sure that everything is in place. And we saw the intentionality. We saw what they were doing. They tried to do a thorough job. In fact, that left us at the end of it all, as they visited other schools. One of our teachers emerged the best teacher in best teacher private schools in Nigeria, 2024, 2025. That was a thorough job that was done, and it's encouraging. This kind of things haven't been happening, and we saw that the curriculum, they're also working on it, to bring it up to speed, the Nigerian curriculum. But we run a British-Nigerian blend. So we take it upon ourselves to, ensure that we're going with the 21st century expectations in the curriculum and other things. So I think things will get better, as we progress. And if they continue with the intentionality that we have noticed, I think education will get better.
Finally, selection of teachers, recruitment in our schools recently is nothing to write home about. Because the way we select people, it's just sometimes you get to school and you find out that just a bunch of angry set of staff, angry set of teachers who are just like, I'm just here to do my job,
Okay.
spanking children and all of that.
Okay, so what happens?
Without the education, they just
Yes.
tell you, well, I studied, it's just SSC O level or
Yes.
whatever, I don't know.
True. Sometimes you can find those. It depends.
And they tell
on-
you if you don't have a job in Nigeria, go teach.
So it can it can happen,
simple.
but definitely not in Blooming Green School, and I can explain. I'll start by analyzing what you just said about people being in an environment that they ordinarily wouldn't have. It still boils down to what the situation in the country is, the economic situation. So if they can't find any other way, they just look for any other thing, not necessarily just education. It could be anywhere. Okay. And at the time, maybe there were also schooling, maybe there were issues. You know how it is. Some of them may not have done so well even in their field of study and all. So I leave that. I have touched on it.
Okay.
But in Blooming Green School, we have a process, we have a procedure. For you to teach in Blooming Green School, you must be a qualified teacher. How do I mean? You must have studied education first. You will have a Bachelor of Education and a Master in Education. And of course, the TRCN, which is the certificate, ratification of
Teachers.
education of teachers.
It's just training.
Yes. Okay, so that's one. Then, two, in that procedure, the interview is rigorous. We have written interview. If you escape our written interview, if you escape our oral interview, maybe you have the knack to speak well and express yourself on things you know and even things you do not know. You can't escape the written one because it's very strategic, the way the questions are set. And you have to have critical thinking skills to be able to answer those questions. So it's not necessarily maths, English, or science. There's a way it is tweaked and it's professionally done. So for you to get through with that, then we have our pre-teach. For you to come in, you have to come and teach us. So it's not enough. For instance, let's say Michael here introduced someone subtly without our knowledge. Okay, so the person comes and goes through some of those ones. At the time you'll be teaching, he won't be there to help.
No, of course.
You know what I mean? It's like your job. You're presenting. You're doing it well. If you can't, at the time they say, get behind the microphone. First, your voice note can't hit the notes that they want in the studio, so you can't even do it. So what happens is at the pre-teach, we can help you. When I say help you is by saying, pick a topic of your choice, or we give you one. And then we come into the class. Either you're teaching the children or we, including yours truly, will sit down there as a child and be disruptive and expect you to then deliver. And you can't escape it. Because if it's English, there are things we're looking at for the text, the critical thinking area, all of those. If you can't, you can't. So by the time you walk through our gates, then you'll be ready to teach. And then we can also tell if you have passion. Passion is not hidden. You can't hide. Before you say one or two things, beyond what you're saying, one can see. So that's the process to hiring people. And then, of course, we have the associate teachers who would have also had maybe NCE, and we see that they know what they're doing. Then they're hired. But the main teachers in the environment, you've got to have that degree and masters, to be able to come into our environment. So that way, we have people who are happy with their job. Then their welfare. That's another thing. If you bring people and you're selfish about what you do with them, if you pay peanuts, you know monkeys. So if you're not selfish and you run that open door policy where people can then see that this is what it is, they'll be more than glad.
For me, that's like my number one. And you mentioned it last. Am I lying?
Yeah, but then at least I mentioned it. So
of course,
at least the process to get them in and to ensure that their welfare is topmost.
Yeah.
People are on HMO Health is wealth, and you're able to take care of members of your staff. Then again, the emotional trauma. Some people are very good at serving the wrong words. I mean, we're all individuals. If you bring someone's self-esteem down, if you use a crane, you can't lift it because it's in the mind. Sometimes I tell people that physical scar, someday it will heal. And you say, oh, one day she hit me here, but I can't even find it. So it's the way it will also melt away from your mind. But the mental scar stays there. Every time the person sees you, no matter what you do, he remembers that once upon a time.
Of course.
So we're very conscious of that. And there's a lot of respect. He mentioned it. Culture of respect, politeness, all of that is around respect. And hard work. So we have 3 P's. Can you?
Yes.
So we pray, we perform,
and then
we play.
Yeah.
SSS, say it, say it,
and it's
sorted. RRR, we're rugged, we're resilient, and result oriented.
Oh, see,
These are the
school, they
things.
sweet me. And I think I can see some persons here. Let me just call one. Eberechi Chukocha. Do you know that person? Say yes. See it, say it, and sort it.
Sorted.
Go BGS.
Yes.
Watching us live and dropping that comment alongside. Okay, but then take that question as question 1A. 1B, here we finalize. What would you say to government as regards the educational system in Nigeria? Or what would you advise government to change or check or whatever? You know.
Okay. They should look at the infrastructure. For every single school that is a school, government school and any school, they should look at the outlay for,
Okay.
for the children, for the learners. Make it conducive. They should look at technology. Technology is the now and is the future. We must have technology. Schools must be technologically driven,
Okay.
right? At any given time, that must be in place. The welfare of the people, and they should continue to help us with energy.
Okay.
For a school like Blooming Green School, there's nothing we can do without light because it's technologically driven. Equip schools, public schools, encourage even private schools. Ensure that taxes don't come our ways because we're doing so much. There's so much that you bear
Okay.
as a school. So let them support in that regard. And then more training for the teachers. Those teachers in the public schools, they should get more trainings because in the private schools, we try to train them. And if government can build outlets for these trainings for private schools so it can be subsidized, they can support us to doing what we do. And then provide the resources for education. Concentrate, because a nation that is educated, that's it. They're light years ahead. A lot of innovations will happen. A lot of creativity will happen.
Of course.
Education is so important in everything that we do as a nation, as a country. In fact, in budgeting, let education have a huge chunk of what should go there. An encouragement to those in the private
Sector.
private part of education, because
okay.
we do these things in collaboration with just the parents. Whatever they can do is to support at all times.
Susan Babatunde Yama is the CEO, Blooming Greens Schools, Yaba, Lagos, Nigeria, West Africa. Which other one again? And of course, Michael Tobechuku is also the Housemaster and Sports Committee member, Blooming Green Schools. I want to say welcome. Should I say welcome now? Did I say welcome initially? Okay, thank you for being part of the show this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
for
much.
coming. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you.
At least you've been able to, you touched on several areas. I was just looking at you and it was good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Michael, thank you so much for, coming around. We hope to, see more of you
Thank
come
you.
around to the studio.
We do
and
appreciate
talk about
your
these
time.
things. Yeah.
And I hope our listeners were able to pick one or two things.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is Voice of the People. 90.3 FM is a strong dial. My name is Jude Ikami Jude. I'm out of here to have a beautiful afternoon. Bye.